straight to the point. We talk about unlocking IEPs, right? Today, I'm just trying to get you to be familiarize yourself into the IEP, know what it's about and how you can navigate around it to serve you better as a parent. So that's why I'm here with this IEP at this moment, right? So what do you expect from this meeting today? There's only three things I want you to take note of, right? I want you to understand the key components of IEP, and I also want you to explore keeping accurate record, right? And learn to prepare yourself for effective IEP meetings. So those three things: understand it, explore it, and learn about it so you are prepared when you walk into the room with the IEPs. There's a reason why I list everything about my education, because my education is nothing but special ed. I love special education. I love what it does for a reason, right? And I'm going to share that reason with you. I want you to know that all my background in of education is in special ed, right? And it's very important because it's personal. The reason why it's personal, this is me when I was like, oh, let me say 3 or something like that, 3, 4. And I have a learning disability personally, but it was never identified. So there was a struggle with this identification throughout my education. And when I decided to adventure in this education, higher education, I knew that had to study it for myself so that I can help the students that I work with, right? So that's why my personal journey is so important to special education. But something I have learned throughout the whole, let me say, my journey is that I have something that I want you to take away with is ideal intervention improves delivery expectation, right? Ideal intervention improves delivery expectation. So if you want to expect something higher for your student, for your child, I say student because I talk to teachers all the time, parents, if you want to understand where your child is going, you have to take note that having ideal intervention, the right intervention, making sure it's consistent, is going to give you the result you want eventually. So that's what I take in all education, right? Ideal intervention improves delivery expectation. Don't forget that. What are we talking about today? I'm talking about empowering you, understanding, navigating the IEP process. And this is so that you can guide your child's education journey, right? You're the one guiding it. Honestly, it's not the school, it's not anybody. You as a parent are the one guiding your child in this educational journey. So you need to prepare yourself at all costs. Prepare yourself for the journey and take responsibility as you go on in this journey. How do we do that? So before we talk about how you get that done, I want to know that I'm not going to talk about the qualifications for IEP, because IEP differs country to country, right? What one state is saying, one country is saying is different from the other, but they have the same umbrella idea of the fact that IEP is school-based, right? What you want the school to do for your child, and what the school is going to be hold accountable to make sure your child get that educational support. That's the IEP. Anywhere you go, that's the bottom line of IEPs. So I'm not going to really talk on it unless we can have a one-to-one conversation. So I look at your specific situation, right? So I'm not going to go through that too much. And also, I'm not going to talk about specialists. I'm not going to talk about teachers. And I'm not going to talk about administrators. And not in depth, because every one of them actually have their own way of assessing and implementing the goals and objective in the IEP. So for me to talk on specialists like OT, special speech therapists, physical therapists is not going to be fair, because they come from a different angle when they talk about IEPs. I'm a teacher, so I will touch more on the teacher part because that's what I do. Administrators, that another thing. They can talk for themselves, but I can touch a little bit about what they do, right? So what qualifies? I'm just going to touch a little bit on this part. What qualifies your child for the whole disability thing, right? The word disability, I don't like using it as the way people use it. I'm just saying it's lack of ability, right? So it's just a dis because that's what the English word wants us to use, but it's lack of ability, disability, right? So when you see your child gross motor skills, fine motor skills, language skills, cognitive skills, emotional skills, social skills, it's being affected in their everyday life, then you want to look into how can I get my child assessed so that they can qualify, be categorized in different disability organizations, the way they organize it pretty much. So when you get the doctor, the therapist, the psychologist, all of them looking at your child and they do the assessment, then they can say, okay, your child has specific learning disability, other health impairment, autism spectrum disorder, intellectual disability, emotional disturbance, developmental delay, multiple disabilities, hear impairment, including deafness, orthopedic impairment, visual impairment, including blindness, right? Traumatic brain injury, and deaf and blindness. So when you see these things happening to a child, don't ignore it. Then seek the proper support so that your child can be diagnosed. Then the IEP takes place, because the IEP falls into categories so that the school can better support your child. So you can move forward until that is taking place, right? So the IEP process. So now you see your child, something's wrong with my child, da, 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 da. I went to the doctor, did this, did that. Okay. So now you open the door for data assessment. That data assessment is where you have the formal assessment and informal assessment. Most of the time, parents have informal assessments because they observe the child throughout their life and see what is happening and what is not happening, right? That's when the professionals then take the formal assessment further to see what's the strength and what's the concern, right? And I like this diagram because it doesn't say strength and weakness, right? Because your child is not weak or strength and disability. No, it's a concern. What is going on with your child is a concern, right? That needs attention. So we have the strength, we have the concern. Then the next thing we have to do is take that concern to the educational need, because your child has to go to school. And we have to make sure we provide the child with the necessary support. So that's where the educational needs come in. The IEP part comes in. And in the IEP part, there's something called the present level. The present level is the baseline. This is where the therapists do the assessment. This is where the teacher does the assessment. This is where the doctor, the therapist, do all the specialists do the assessment. That's the baseline, because you cannot move to a goal unless you know where you are. So this baseline is a very important. I want you to think of, did you ever have a baseline? And do you have a record of that baseline? Where was your child in the beginning of all this? Do you have any documentation on that? If you don't, then you don't have a baseline to move from. Then we have to create another baseline, right? So if you do have it, great. Add that to your portfolio because you want to know where your child started at. If you don't, you can start today and find all the necessary information you need to create your baseline. So when we have this baseline, that's when you're going to see that the goals are going to be created. When the goals are created, it's not only one person that creates the goals, depending on what kind of disability your child has. So the services are going to create a goal. You can see the arrow going towards the goal. The services, that means the therapists, are going to create a goal. The teacher is going to create a goal. And then it goes to the placement. The placement is very important based on the services and the goals that is being set. And the service and placement have accommodation and modification, right? Don't get those two words mixed up. If you see your IEP and you see modification and you see accommodation, ask yourself, what does that mean, right? And so when you see accommodation can be something like calculator, right? The child has the same level of education as everybody in the classroom. Nothing changes, but you're providing different things for that child so the curriculum can be accessible to that child, right? Modification is saying that if the rest of the class is doing 12 problems, your child would do 5 problems. That is modifying the curriculum for the child. If all the class is reading chapter 1 that has maybe 10 pages, your child maybe will get a summary of chapter 1 based on the child's ability, right? So that's modification. But none of them are actually changing the child. Let's say your child is in class 6, and then they're giving your child class 3 work. That is not a modification at all. If your child is in class 6, then let's do things like a class 6 student will do, right? But modify it. That's what I'm talking about. Accommodation, maybe your child has a problem with sight. The child will sit in the front. That's accommodating. Maybe your child can sit in a regular chair. He needs something else. That's accommodation, not modification, right? So think about accommodation as something physical that is going on in the environment that's going to support your child. And think about modification, more of the curriculum. What are they doing to make sure the curriculum is accessible to your child? Yeah. So I'm going to pause here a little bit. If anyone has a question before I go on, I tend to talk a lot, so I have to remind myself to stop. If there's any chat going on, anything, please let me know because I can't see nothing. Just my slide going on here. So now I'm going to talk about what it really entails when it comes to the IEP, right? The student, which is your child, needs to get that assessment, that formal assessment, so that you can find a program that suits your child. And when the assessment done, you have to know that there must be a goal. Read that goal, right? And that goal has objectives, right? So let's say the goal is for your child, something very simple. The goal for your child to write their name. That's a goal. It's very simple, but I'm just giving an example here. But what are the steps that they're going to take to get your child to write their name, right? So your IEP must have a goal and must have an objective. If you see a goal in your IEP and there's no objectives, there's a question. how are you going to get to that goal? Right? So every goal must have objective tied to it, because that tells you what the school's going to do to get your child where they said they're going to get your child to, based on the assessment that they took. So for you, sis, that they said that they have tried everything, what was the goal and what was the objective? If they didn't show you, and the objective, the goal had to be measurable, right? So when I say measurable, I mean like 5 out of 10, 3 out of 1, I mean 3 out of 6, whatever. That means whatever they've seen, they have to have some schools use percentage, 50%, 70%, 80%, 90%. That's that is the where they want to be. If your child is performing below the goal, doesn't mean that the goal is not working. It just means that goal is maybe a little bit too high. We need to tweak it a little bit and try to reach a higher goal as we go on, right? So don't think that just because you put a goal on your thing, it's not going to be achievable. It will, but maybe it's a higher goal. We need something a little bit lower and work towards that, right? And the services. So based on the goal, the services is what comes up. So when you say you have therapists, speech therapists, occupational therapists, what's it called? Like physical therapists, teachers, one-to-one support, all that is services that's based on the goal that was set for your child. So if the services are not provided, then there's no need for the goals. And if you don't need for the goals, then you're not going according to the IEP. Then we have a problem, right? So, and the modification then comes from the services. And when I said earlier what the modification was, what the accommodation was, so all that is based from the services, which is then based from the goal. So now comes the parents' part. So you are not the police officer for your child. Now you know all these things. Your child, the goals, the services, the modification, adaptation. Now the parent is a police officer. What then do you do as a parent? That's what we're going to talk about now. So there was a saying that I love. I came across it, and I was researching something. I came across this quote right here, and I love it. It says, every time you are in an IEP meeting, know that you are not just advocating for your child, you are advocating for the next child after you. So you're not just there fighting for your child at that IEP. Because if you get the breakthrough, trust the other parent is going to get a breakthrough as well, right? So when you sit at the IEP, sit as a police officer that's going to make sure it finds every details, assess every assessment, and make sure that your child is getting what the child needs to get at that IEP. So you are an equal team member. If not, you are the voice in that meeting, more so than even the school, right? Importance of sharing insight about your child. If you feel your child needs this, and the school says your child don't need it, then provide me with documentation why my child doesn't need that. I'm not the educator. I'm not the therapist. I'm a parent. And I'm telling you, my child needs this. You saying no. Okay, no. What is your foundation on that? What is your baseline on that? Why are you telling me no? Right? So don't take no for an answer. If they say no, simply say, okay, no. Can you please give me assessment based on it? If the assessment says no, I will take no. But if you're just telling me based on your thoughts that my child is not capable or my child doesn't need something, I have a problem. Let's have an assessment. Do a formal assessment. Tell me that my child cannot do it. Then I can take that information somewhere. right? So ask question and make sure that you understand the question, right? Because the way you ask a question will determine the kind of answer they're going to give you. So make sure your question is clear to yourself. So when they give you answer and you feel that answer is not going nowhere, don't take it. Ask again until you understand what they are saying. Or you can tell them, please put that on paper because I don't understand it right now. I need to process what you are saying to me. So put it on a paper and I will come back again next. We'll talk about it, right? Don't go there and think that you don't have a voice. You have 100% voice and you have to say more than anyone else. Have a documentation. So this is the part I want to really stress on. Record keeping. Record keeping for your IEP. If you don't have, what did I do with it just now? See, I had something, but I want to use this. You have to have a binder. Have a binder with different things like division inside. This binder, I use it and it has a zipper. I love it. I just have all IEP's documents and I put it down. If I have to talk to a parent for IEP, I just take this document and I go through step by step. You as a parent need a folder. You need a binder. And this binder is the only thing that's going to save you in meetings. So this binder helps you track progress. I have a parent that came to a meeting, had IEP 10 years back. I'm telling this lady, just her entering the IEP made me nervous. She came with portfolios to tell us what the child has and has not received, So I got intimidated just seeing her with the portfolios year after year. She came prepared to argue that her child needed this for high school, whether they like it or not. This is what is happening, right? So what I'm saying is, provide evidence for anything that you feel is not right. Provide evidence, either from your part or from the school part. Ensure consistency across school years. My sister that mentioned something about from one school to another school. You can't stop service because you move from one school to another school. Why? And if they say they don't have the service, it's okay. Show me why you don't have that service. Put it on paper why you don't have that service. I'm not going to argue you. It's okay. Just tell me on paper. We can provide you with aid. Write it down. Send me email. Why can't you provide me with aid? Stop accepting the words that comes from schools. Let them put on paper, because when they have to write it on paper, they know that paper can come back to them. So be very mindful and not accepting words from principals, from teachers, from therapists. Please write it down. Give me a report. Tell me what's going on, because I need to put it in my portfolio why it is so. The next thing is how to organize your child's IEP paperwork. Now I've told you, have a folder. Now you say, okay, how do I go about this folder? First of all, you need the organizer, a binder, a folder system. But this world, people are more digital than some. I'm a paper and pencil person. I don't keep my record on computer a lot. I print it out and I look at it. So you have to find a system that works for you to keep your child's information, right? If they give you a paper or you have papers that's old, take a picture of it and file it. If you're that kind of person, you don't want to have paper all over the place, it's okay. Take a picture, file it, take a picture, file it. Or if they send you to as email, file it in a system somewhere on your desktop, right? If you need help in how to go about creating this filing system, you can always reach me through www.dat.org. That's my website. Somebody put in the chart, if you don't mind, please, so that I can have a one-to-one with you, because this is a really general information. I can't really dive into your child's IEP or situation until I see it, right? Because every IEP is different, every system is different, every school is different. So we have to tackle it for you and your child. Okay, so we talk about the importance of preparing for IEP. Now you have your IEP, you have all your section, you have gathered all your information, the doctor, the doctor section, the therapist section, the school section, the teacher section. After you have all that, even the report card, though, don't forget the report card. Just because your child has IEP doesn't mean that they don't get a report card. They must get a report card, right? So even that report card, file it, because now you're building a system that you can actually fight against with your documentation, right? Build your IEP together. Don't forget. So when you have that, then you can help advocate for necessary resources, right? If your child is not functioning, you see your report card, the teacher said this, the teacher said that, the school said this, the therapist said this. Now you can take that and advocate for your child so that they can get the resource necessary. And if it means that this school says that they can't give it, like, for instance, a child is in a wheelchair and the school doesn't have stairs, right? It's an old school, and your child can go from one level to the other because there's no elevator, there's nothing provided. Okay, that's granted. Now the school must tell you, what school can your child go to that will accommodate your child? They have to give you somewhere your child can go to. They can just say, okay, we don't have it, so go to another school. No, doesn't work like. You have to give me documentation. Tell me why your school cannot accommodate my daughter. Then I can take that documentation, go to another school. But don't just take your child and go to another school. That school that you left must put something in paper before you leave, right? So that you'll be able to fight for the needs for your child. Okay, so when you want to prepare, now you have everything. Now you want to prepare for your child. You have to look at the current IEP. You're doing injustice to your child if you don't have a current IEP or at least a year back IEP for your child. Now, when you have that IEP, you have to look at, I said, the goals, the services, and then the progress. The progress is a data collection that the school has made, right? And you have the right to see that data collection. Have you ever gone to the school and asked the teacher, how is my child? Can I see what you're doing in classroom? Where's how are you keeping track of my child? You say my child can do addition. What work have you done to come with that conclusion? You say my child can read. What have you done in the classroom that have helped my child with any form of reading? So what are you doing as a teacher to make my child calm down or have some kind of interaction with the classroom without being saying, oh, come and get your child, the behavior is too much? Oh, your child can come today, we don't have accommodation for your child today. No, what are you saying? They're putting on paper, if you want me to come and get my child because my child misbehaved, put it on paper. Don't call me and say, come and get my child. No, I want to see on paper why you send my child home. When you start writing everything down, when you start forcing them to write things down, trust me, your child will get the result they need. They don't like paperwork. So if you're not going to tell me why my child must go home, then my child is not going home. Write it down. If I pick my child up, write what happened. And let's have documentation, because I need that documentation to find other resource for my child. I'm not going to tell the doctor my child doesn't listen. No, I want the teacher to write it down. I want the school to write it down so I can take the doctor, and the doctor can tell me what can I do next for my child. So write it down. We're not going to do verbal no more. Verbal is over. We're done with verbal. So gather evidence, progress report, homework samples, medical report. Gather them all. That's how you prepare yourself for IEPs. Now you prepare yourself. Now, before you go inside the IEP meeting, that's the thing. You put your hat on. You put yourself together. At the meeting, before you go to the meeting, 4 things, don't forget. Review any notes, any meeting, any letter that the teacher has sent you. Review it, right? Make a note, because that teacher is going to be there in that meeting. So those letters, the emails that she's been sending you, is all going to show up at that meeting. Next time when you go back to class, remember that anything you write to me at the IEP meeting, I'm going to pull it out. Because we need to get you to do your job as a teacher. We need to get you to do your job as a therapist, as a school. So I'm not taking no more. If you take anything from this meeting today, don't accept verbal informations. Everything must be documented at all times. As little as your child didn't pay attention today, send me an email about it. Okay. Then you have to talk to your child. I know some of our children don't talk, nonverbal. Now I'm saying don't talk because they talk, but not verbal, like mostly put into words together, but they do communicate. Children do communicate, nonverbal or not. They would let you know what's happening with them, right? And you need to be observant to make sure that you understand what's happening to your child, right? So, and you have to then plan your preparation. Have your notes together, have your notepad, have your folder. And if the school, you have an IEP meeting and they don't send you a letter for the IEP meeting, that's a red flag. They can't call you in the morning and say, oh, Miss So-and-so, today's IEP meeting, oh, where are you? For what? When did you send this information to me? No, we're not doing that. They have to give you at least enough. I don't know, everywhere is different. But for some schools, they give you 2 weeks notice that you're going to have IEP meeting. So you are going to get yourself prepared for that IEP meeting. And that's before the meeting. During the meeting, while you're sitting down at the table, take a deep breath. And listen to everyone. Sometimes they like parents to talk first. Don't do it. They would come to you and say, so, Mrs. Walker, tell me what's going on with John. No, you're not going to get me what's going on with John. Tell me what you are doing for John. Let's start with that. Start the meeting off with them talking. You don't do the talking. And I say, talk. Start writing. Even if you're not writing nothing, just start moving your pen and paper. Let them think that you are doing something, because then they're thinking in their head, hey, this person, I must be careful what I'm saying. When they're talking, I'll write that. I'm not writing nothing. I'm just letting them know I'm writing something down. So don't say that you don't know English, so you don't write. No. Take your paper. They don't have to see your paper. Just look at their face and just write. And when they finish talking, then you have to say, okay, from my perspective, last year's IEP. That's when you pull your papers out. Last year's IEP and this year's IEP is the same goals. Why are we having the same goals in 2, 3 years? The same goals. Why? If the goal is not working, why are you bringing the goal back again? I'm not accepting this IEP. And you sign. You don't sign until you give me a new goal. We're not talking about this IEP. I'm not accepting it. So that's how you fight. That's how you advocate for your child, right? So please, it's very important for your child, for you to take IEPs very seriously. Now, after the meeting's over, you have taken your notes, whether you take the notes or you don't take the notes. You take your paperwork and you'll move. And they must send you a copy of the IEP after the meeting. If you don't get a copy after the IEP, because all signatures must be on the IEP. The teacher's signature, the school, the therapist, everyone's signature. That makes our IEP seal. Now they have have you got an IEP and you don't see signature on the IEP? If you ever get one, return it. They must sign it. Every one of them, the teacher, from the therapist to school, everyone must sign that document, because that's how you're going to hold them accountable, right? So now, when you get home, review the IEP on the line. Anyway, but I forget. Sometimes schools have to send you pre-IEP documents for you to look at before the meeting. So ask them, am I going to if they're just going to send you a letter, then it's just a letter. But ask them, are you going to send me a pre-document towards the IEP so I can review the IEP myself? If they say no, that means the first time you're going to lay your eyes on that IEP is the IEP day. So if that's the case, don't sign them. Tell them I have to look over the IEP. I'll get back to you guys next week. Unless they had sent you that document before the IEP. But at the day of the IEP, they give you documents. They do all their talking, and they want you to sign. Don't sign. Just say, I have to review because this is my first time seeing the IEP, and keep moving. Okay. So after that, carefully review the paperwork. As I said, just review it. If you agree with it, fine, sign it, give them back the documents. You don't agree, highlight it, have another meeting. Nobody said that the day you have IEP is the day you must sign all the documents. Nobody said that. Even when you go and sign a mortgage, you get the document before you sign anything. So why should I sign IEP, my child's future? Or why should I sign it when I haven't seen the document? Why should I sign it? There's no way. There's no way. So please, let's take this IEP very serious. This is the part that gets very emotional when you start hearing what people are saying about your child at that IEP meetings. Even sometimes they try their best. The school tries, the therapist tries, the teachers try. They try to say, oh, your child is a very pleasant student, very outgoing. However, they add that. But when they start adding those things, it starts making you feel very emotional. It starts making you feel angry, frustrated. You have to just stay calm, because in your mind, you have your paperwork. So let them just keep talking. Everything they're saying, as long as they put it on paper, you're okay. Because you cannot argue at that IEP time. You can't really argue because you are so emotional that you're not going to think straight. You're just going to be screaming or crying. And you don't want that. So take your time. Just tell yourself, calm down. I'm going to take this paper home. I'm going to read it. And I'm going to come back. Right? So ensure that all the concerns are documented. Don't let them use their words. I beg, please. I mean, I don't know if you guys know, I'm from Ghana. And I love my African family very much. And so when I talk about IEP, I talk it from a passion place, especially when I'm talking to my own fellow Africans. I talk from it. If I don't even care the fact that I'm a teacher in the school. I'm going to tell you the real truth. Don't leave IEP without getting everything that you want said. Make your notes. Say everything you want to say, because they're recording what you are saying. So ensure all concerns are documented in the meeting. Then request a draft of the IEP before the meeting. If don't give you that draft before the meeting, guess what? At the day of the meeting, they will not get your signature, and don't give it to them. Take it home. And then later give them back the signature, right? So the takeaway here is advocate, know your rights, be persistent, but collaborate with the team. When I say team, I'm talking about the therapist, the teacher, the doctor, the social worker. Be persistent. Don't give up. Be persistent. Stay informed about special education law. I cannot go into law with you because you're coming from a different place. So that's why I'm saying I need to see you on one-to-one basis to know your situation so I can give you the necessary information that you need or the guidance, where to go, how to ask a question, what letter to write, so on forth. Okay? And consider joining a support group. ABLE is an amazing support group. So that you're already in a group, which is beautiful. So consider joining a support group or network of parents so you can share your informations. Because I said before, when you go to IEP, you're not going there by yourself. You're going because the other children behind you need your advocates. They need it. So you're going in not just to fight for John, you're fighting for the other children. So you need to be in a support group so you can share these things that is going on. And ABLE is a very amazing organization that's doing that, just that, sharing informations, making sure parents are not left behind. Share it. And also, I don't know the local groups that are there fighting for disabilities. You need to look for them. Sometimes the schools don't give it to you. You have to look for them. Website. You have to research. You have to also find social education blogs. There's some parents in Canada, I believe, that are writing about things. Find those blogs. It maybe when ABLE finds it, they will share those blogs with you, those website with you, so that now you can do your own research.